The day my parents got divorced was the day my life truly began again. My mother and I were being unceremoniously evicted from the home I had grown up in. My father, Mark, had made his position clear. "I don't have any money for you," he'd said, his voice devoid of any warmth. "Just pretend you don't have a father." It was almost comical. In my previous life, I was a financial wizard, an investing prodigy who could predict every major stock market fluctuation for the next 2 decades. My real concern wasn't that he would cut me off, but that he would eventually come crawling back, looking for a handout once I made my fortune. The jarring impact of the car crash had faded, replaced by the surreal experience of waking up as my 17-year-old self on the exact day my world had first fallen apart. When my eyes fluttered open, the scene unfolding was sickeningly familiar. My father was heaving my mother's suitcases and my own belongings out of the front door. "This isn't your home anymore," he announced, tossing a duffel bag onto the lawn. "Don't forget to leave the keys." Standing just behind him was Brenda, my soon-to-be stepmother, a smug smile playing on her lips. "Oh, no need to leave them," she chimed in, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "I don't want anything someone else has used. It's so dirty. I'm having the locks changed anyway." My father immediately turned to her, his face softening into an adoring smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. Of course, of course. Anything you say." What in the world? This entire exchange felt like a scene I had already lived through. I glanced over at the calendar hanging on the wall. The date confirmed it. It was 2009. In my last life, I had flown into a rage at Brenda's comment about the locks. My father had shoved me during the ensuing argument, and I had hit my head on the doorframe, leaving a scar that I carried for the rest of my life. This time, I instinctively reached up to my forehead. It was still smooth. Thank God. I peeked my head out of my room and looked downstairs. My mother was still busy trying to organize the luggage on the lawn, completely oblivious to the drama unfolding inside, so I walked straight towards my father. In my past life, that scar had been the catalyst for me to start practicing Taekwondo. By the time of the car crash, I was a 6th-degree black belt. And now, I found that all of that physical knowledge, every kick and block, was still ingrained in my muscle memory. I'd like to see who would dare to bully me now. I pointed a finger at my father and then let out a short, sharp laugh directed at Brenda. "Wow, you seem perfectly fine using a second-hand husband and moving into a second-hand house. What exactly do you own that isn't second-hand? And you have the nerve to talk about things being dirty? Aren't you just disgusting?" Brenda's face instantly soured. She clutched my father's sleeve, tears already welling up in her eyes. "Mark, are you just going to let your daughter bully me like this? If she's treating me this way before I've even moved in, will there be any place for my daughter and me in the future? It seems I never should have agreed to marry you. I was a respectable woman, but I made this mistake because I loved you. How could I end up being talked to like this by a child?" As her fabricated sobs began, my father's anger flared. He raised his free hand, his expression making it clear he was about to slap me. Before he could, I executed a perfect roundhouse kick, sending him stumbling to the floor. I giggled. "Oops, sorry, pure instinct. Are you hurt? Is your jaw swelling up?" My father staggered back to his feet, clutching his jaw in disbelief. Brenda was so stunned by this sudden turn of events that she seemed to have forgotten how to cry. I shot her a sweet smile, and she wisely scurried behind my father for protection. "Mark, your daughter even dares to hit you. How am I supposed to live here in the future?" Provoked by her words, my father gritted his teeth, looking as though he might try to lunge at me again. I kept my expression calm, but gave him a look that was as sharp as a knife. "You'd better think very carefully before you try anything else. Otherwise, you'll be the one who gets hurt, Dad." He touched his throbbing jaw, and in the end, his courage failed him. He didn't dare try to hit me again, but that didn't stop him from yelling. "This is insane. How could I have raised such a disrespectful daughter?" I smiled sweetly back at him. What terrible luck. How did I end up with a heartless bastard of a father like you? Brenda tugged on my father's sleeve again, and he looked like he was about to lose his composure completely. Seeing my chance, I threw the front door wide open and began to wail at the top of my lungs. Hey, neighbors, uncles and aunts, come and see. Mark is kicking out his wife for his mistress. My shout, amplified by the empty hallway, boomed like thunder, and doors immediately started to creak open up and down the street. Everyone had heard the rumors about my father's affair, but my mother, a woman of immense pride, had agreed to a divorce almost immediately after discovering it, without any public tears or drama. In doing so, she had robbed the gossip-loving neighbors of their chance to feel morally superior. Today, knowing it was the day of our official divorce, who knows how many people were eavesdropping, just waiting for a scene to unfold. Of course, I couldn't pass up such a golden opportunity to make my father infamous. After all, being secretly gossiped about is one thing, but being publicly called out is a whole different experience. I pinched my thigh hard, summoning real tears to my eyes as I began my performance. Everyone here works with my dad, so you all know a bit about our family. My dad came from nothing. Without my grandpa paving the way for him, he wouldn't be where he is today. My mom, who comes from a well-respected military family, married beneath her station to be with him. But instead of being grateful, he threw it all away. He got hooked by some cheap mistress who sells holiday junk at the entrance of our neighborhood. He's so trashy, he's not even good at hiding his affairs. My mom was too embarrassed and just swallowed all the pain, but he just got worse. Now, not only is he divorcing my mom, he's even disowning me, his own daughter, just to make room for his new stepdaughter. Today, before I've even moved out, he's demanding the keys and telling me this isn't my home anymore. Grandpas, grandmas, uncles, aunts, does that make any sense to you? Just because my parents are divorced, does that mean I'm not his daughter anymore? That his house isn't my house? Wow, I couldn't take it. So I tried to reason with him, and you know what? He hit me. He's never laid a finger on me my whole life. But today, for that homewrecker, he hit me. He's the one who's a terrible father, and he has the nerve to call me disrespectful. You all be the judge. I had started with crocodile tears, but as I recounted everything my father had done, both in this life and the last, the emotions became painfully real. I ended up truly sobbing, turning myself into a perfect picture of a pitiful, wronged child. Seeing me crying so miserably, the neighbors couldn't help but feel a wave of sympathy. They started pointing fingers at my father and Brenda. I never liked Mark. Kicking out his own daughter, he's not a real man. And that mistress isn't even that pretty. Is Mark under some kind of spell? Even a monster doesn't turn on its own kids. This isn't just heartless, it's inhuman. The chorus of condemnation grew louder. My father was furious. He tried desperately to drag me back inside the house, but I fought to stay out in the hallway in full view of our audience. If you have something to say it out here. Don't you dare drag me inside. I know you just want to hit me again. Finally, my father snapped. Maya, if you keep this up, don't you ever think about coming back to me for money? Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh out loud, as if he'd ever give me any if I asked. In my last life, right after my parents divorced, the new semester of my senior year started, and we had to pay tuition. My mother was in the hospital with a heart condition at the time, and I didn't want to bother her, so I went straight to Mark for the money. Technically, since I wasn't 18 yet, he was legally obligated to pay for my tuition and living expenses. And what happened? After I explained why I was there, the first thing he said was, "Did your mother send you?" His second sentence was, "My money doesn't grow on trees. Get the tuition from your mother." Then he rolled up the window of his BMW 7 Series. Through the closing gap, I saw Brenda and her daughter, Tiffany, sitting in the car. Tiffany shot me a smug look, as if she were the apple of my dad's eye and I was just some beggar on the street. Remembering that moment, I wanted to slap my father across the face, but I restrained myself. I still had one masterstroke to play. Just then, my mother came upstairs, drawn by the commotion. Maybe because he didn't dare hit me, my father decided to provoke my mother instead. In front of all the neighbors, he pointed at me and yelled, "Just go! Just pretend I never had a daughter like you!" My mom's fist clenched, ready to fly, but I quickly grabbed her hand. The neighbors were all scolding him for being such a terrible father. I whispered in my mom's ear, "Don't do anything. This is exactly what I was waiting for him to say. Then, with perfect composure, I pulled a pen and a piece of paper from my bag. I drafted a simple agreement and had him sign it and add his thumbprint, asking everyone present to act as a witness. Mark frowned as he looked at the document. I read the contents out loud for all to hear. To all our good neighbors, you all heard it with your own ears. My father, Mark, said to just pretend he never had me as a daughter. Since he's so unkind, unjust, and unwilling to act like a human being, then I, Maya, don't need him as a father. Today, I ask you all to witness this. Mark and Maya are, as of August 30th, 2009, permanently severing their father-daughter relationship. From this day forward, whether Mark goes bankrupt or gets scammed, whether he gets a terminal illness or gets hit by a car, it will have absolutely nothing to do with me, Maya. The neighbors were stunned into silence. One of the more meddlesome ones finally shouted, "Good for you, girl." Under the immense social pressure, Mark quickly signed the agreement and pressed his thumb onto the ink pad. With the document secured, I grabbed my mom and we turned to leave. My mom wanted to grab the last piece of luggage, but I stopped her. "Forget it. Let's just leave the trash behind. It's got a bad vibe and it'll mess with our new life." My mom looked at me, surprised, but then a small smile touched her lips. "Okay, whatever my daughter says." Just then, an older lady who was good friends with my mom came over and gently wiped the tears from my cheeks. "Live a good life. Make something of yourself and show that blind fool of a father exactly what he lost. You two need to be strong from now on. He's not worth it." Amid the chorus of blessings and encouragement from our neighbors, my father's face was swollen with a mixture of anger and humiliation. Brenda had long since hidden inside the house, too scared to face the crowd. Feeling ashamed now? It was far too late for that. I was sure that after today's public spectacle, if my father and Brenda had any sense of shame, they'd be selling this place and moving out immediately. And, as I knew from my past life, the property values in this very neighborhood were going to see an unprecedented spike next year. The thought of them regretting this decision for the rest of their lives almost made me laugh out loud. Mark and Brenda, your lives aren't going to be as smooth and comfortable as they were last time. Everything you owe my mom and me, I'm going to take it all back. Before we headed to the new apartment my mom had rented, I took her out for a fantastic meal of steak and ribs. In my last life, my mom was perpetually worried about her weight. Even though she loved indulgent food like this, she always avoided it to stay thin. This time, I didn't want her to diet. And sure enough, as she ate, the corners of her mouth were turned up in a constant happy smile. My mom is beautiful, although the stress of the divorce had left her looking a bit worn out. When she smiled, her eyes crinkled, and she was still radiant. My heart stirred. I remembered that in my past life, after the divorce, her mouth always seemed to be turned downwards in a permanent frown. I had always assumed that, like me, she was struggling to get over the divorce because of how deeply unfair it all was. But looking at her now, she didn't seem too devastated by the separation itself. So, could it be possible that in my past life, a large part of my mom's unhappiness was because of me? I couldn't help but think back to this very day in my previous life. My dad had split my head open, and my mom got into a huge fight with him, but he wouldn't even take me to the hospital. After I was treated, my mom held me and said, "From now on, just pretend you don't have him as a father." But back then, I just couldn't accept it. I couldn't understand why my dad would be so kind to Tiffany, but not to me. I was his real daughter, after all. I felt like Tiffany had stolen my father from me. I competed with her in everything at school, and I lost every single time. When my dad bought Tiffany a new phone, I smashed it. My reasoning was simple. If I couldn't have it, neither could she. My stepmother, Brenda, came to the school and screamed at me in front of my mom. "You've got a mother, but she clearly never taught you any manners." I screamed right back, calling her every name in the book, a mix of English and Chinese curses, anything I could think of. I didn't care that I looked like a shrew in front of the whole school, or that my mom was so embarrassed she couldn't even lift her head. Later, my dad slapped me and confronted my mom. "Elena, is this the daughter you raised?" The famous upbringing of the Lin family is truly an eye-opener. But even in that humiliating moment, my mom still shielded me and clawed at my dad's face. I still remember her words to him, crystal clear. "What's wrong with the daughter I raised? She just wants her own father to notice her." Is that so wrong? You two, a cheating man and a homewrecker, can be all lovey-dovey. I find it disgusting and don't want to deal with it, but that doesn't mean what you're doing isn't disgusting. You can do it, but my daughter can't talk about it? Mark, you should be grateful that your own daughter doesn't find you completely repulsive and is still trying everything to get your attention. But you don't deserve it. Go on. Be a great dad to your stepdaughter. My daughter doesn't need you anymore. And I'm telling you right now, if you ever dare to lay a finger on her again, I'll risk everything to ruin you. Just see if I don't. Maybe he was scared by my mom's intensity. My dad just muttered, "Crazy woman," and left, protecting Brenda and Tiffany. Later, he pulled some strings to get Tiffany transferred to a different class, just to keep her away from me. And I, the one left behind, was almost given a formal demerit for repeatedly picking fights with her. In the end, it was my mom who begged everyone she could to keep it off my permanent record. That day, when my mom picked me up from school, she told me sadly, "Maya, honey, I'm so sorry I couldn't give you a father who loves you. But your life is your own. Even if your father doesn't love you, you have to live well for yourself." After saying that, my mom went into the kitchen. I saw her secretly wiping away tears. I really wanted to go in and hug her, to tell her, "Mom, you have nothing to be sorry for. Having you is all I need to be happy." But teenage awkwardness kept me from taking that step into the kitchen. That was one of my biggest regrets from my past life. That night, my mom made me fragrant egg fried rice, but she didn't eat a single bite herself. I silently vowed to live well and never make my mom sad again. But by then, the college entrance exams were already very close. Because I had wasted most of the school year on pointless conflicts, no matter how hard I tried, in the remaining time, I only managed to get into a regular state school. Tiffany, however, got into a top-tier university. My dad even threw a huge party to celebrate for her. I heard Brenda was telling everyone, "Elena acts so high and mighty, looking down on everyone." But what good did it do her? Her own daughter was ruined by her and didn't even test as well as my Tiffany. My Mark was so disappointed. I just told Mark, "You can't control your kids' fortunes. No matter how angry you get, it's useless if your daughter doesn't work hard herself." Luckily, you have Tiffany now. Isn't Tiffany your daughter too? You really came out on top in this deal. The person who relayed this to my mom did a perfect cutting imitation. My mom didn't say anything, but who wouldn't feel humiliated hearing that? Probably because of all this pent-up humiliation and frustration, my mom developed heart failure during my sophomore year of college. By the time it was discovered, it was already in the final stages. The doctor said the only cure was a heart transplant. I was in college, and my mom had taken early retirement due to her health. You can imagine our financial situation. I had no choice but to go beg my dad to lend me money for my mom's transplant. Of course, I was met with nothing but Brenda's sneering. I'll never forget her standing over me, looking down her nose. "Maya, your dad and mom are divorced. He was obligated to support you until you were 18, but you're 19 now. He has no obligation to you, let alone your mother. Who is your mom to him? After divorce, they're strangers. Do you have any idea what you're doing coming here with a request like this? It's called emotional blackmail. In plain English, you have no shame. And your mom is supposed to be from some high-class family? This is the kind of person she raised. And my dad, he just hid inside the house, pretending not to be home, letting his new wife yell at me. What was even more infuriating was that a couple of days later, Brenda actually went to the hospital to taunt my mom. What's the use of being so proud your whole life? Your daughter still came begging me like a dog to pay your medical bills. If you ask me, it's just your bad luck to get this disease. You can't fight fate. You were meant to die, so just hurry up and do it." I couldn't take it anymore. In my mom's hospital room, I scratched Brenda's face until it was a bloody mess. That was the worst day of my last life. Brenda quickly called the police, crying, While I was at the police station giving my statement, my mom passed away, all alone in the hospital. The last message she left me was on a slip of paper with just 3 words: live a good life. I cried until I couldn't see straight. At 19, my world went dark. After that, I studied like my life depended on it, fueled by a burning rage to destroy everything. I eventually made it in the financial world and became a stock market whiz. The first thing I did after becoming successful was bankrupt my dad and give him a stroke out of pure anger. Brenda pushed my paralyzed dad to my company, playing the victim and telling everyone how ungrateful I was. I didn't care. I wasn't afraid to tell anyone that I had plenty of money, but I'd rather throw it on the street than give a single cent to my dad. My dad sued me. In front of him, I donated my entire fortune to charity for poor rural areas. With no money to my name, I obviously couldn't pay him any support. Seeing there was no more money to be squeezed from me, Brenda dumped my dad on me and washed her hands of him. I just left my dad on the street to fend for himself. My actions were controversial. Some people online said I had true grit, that the deadbeat dad deserved it. Others said I went too far, that he was still my father. But I couldn't care less what anyone said. My only purpose in life was revenge. Of course, I didn't let Brenda off easy either. Not long after my dad died, I hired a male escort to pose as a rich businessman and seduce her. He ended up scamming her out of everything she had, and she jumped off a building. Even though Brenda got what she deserved, I was killed when Tiffany ran me over with her car. In my last life, because of my dad and his new family, I lost the only person who mattered to me. I gave up everything to get revenge, but I never found any happiness or joy. This time, first things first. I have to save my mom. I will never let her be sad because of me again. I'm going to make her the happiest mom in the world. I linked my arm through my mom's, put another piece of meat on her plate, and told her, "Mom, you still have me. I will definitely make you happy." My mom looked at me, gratified, her eyes smiling. "I'm a grown-up, Mom. How could my happiness depend on you?" She sighed. "As long as you don't let this divorce affect you and you study hard, that's all I need." I made a funny face at her and promised, "Don't you worry about that. Your daughter knows what's what." I broke it down for her. Dad betraying you was wrong and unjust. Choosing a woman like Brenda shows he has terrible judgment. A disloyal, clueless, lovesick loser like him is bound to have bad luck. He'll probably crash and burn sooner or later. Us leaving him early, that was fate saving us, I'm thrilled. Only a fool would let him affect me. My mom looked at me and burst out laughing. Then she quickly tried to stifle it, feeling it wasn't right to laugh, and put on a stern face. "You child, where did you learn to talk like that? Don't say such things anymore. Have some class." Hey, you say that, but you were clearly enjoying it." "Oops," I said the quiet part out loud. My mom glared at me, but I wasn't scared of her at all. Being back with my mom felt so wonderful. This time, I decided I was going to be the most loving daughter ever. I was going to make up for all the affection I never showed and all the playful whining I never did in my past life. I popped a piece of meat into her mouth. "Just admit it. Weren't you happy when I totally destroyed them back there?" My mom ate the meat and couldn't hold back her laughter anymore. Well, it would be hypocritical to say I wasn't. We looked at each other and burst into loud, happy laughter. A long-forgotten feeling of happiness bloomed in my heart. It turns out happiness needs love to grow. This was a taste I hadn't experienced since losing my mom in my last life. That night, lying in the small apartment my mom had rented, I slept like a baby. In my past life, consumed by hatred and fighting with those scumbags, I don't think I ever had a single night of truly peaceful sleep. This time, armed with all my skills, I knew my mom and I would have a great life. Dreaming about our bright future, I quickly fell asleep. But when I woke up in the middle of the night needing to use the bathroom, I found my mom sitting in the living room, sighing deeply as she repeatedly punched numbers into a calculator. It looked like she was worried about money. Seeing me, my mom looked up. "What do you think? Should we buy an air conditioner first or a refrigerator? This heat will probably last until October. If we don't get an AC, I'm worried it'll be too hot for you to study. But without a fridge, we have to eat all our leftovers in one sitting. I only have enough money for one right now. I went over and wrapped my arms around her neck, full of confidence. Get the AC first. We should be eating fresh food anyway. Mom, if you're worried about money, I've been learning about the stock market lately and I have some ideas. My mom's eyes went wide. I gathered my thoughts, trying to sound casual. I'll tell you about a few stocks. You can watch how they perform. If they go up, it means I have a good eye for it. And then, Mom, you can try buying a few. I was expecting praise, but instead, my mom blew up. She shot up from her chair, her eyes red. Maya, are you trying to give me a heart attack? It's your senior year and you're not studying, you're looking at stocks. Do you even want to go to college? Sigh. I had planned for everything except this reaction from my mom. Worried I'd blown my cover, I quickly apologized and used the excuse of having to get up early for school to escape back to my bed. Lying there, I was wide awake. I started scheming about the easiest way to give my mom and me a better life. It was 2009. I remembered that Bitcoin's initial price was less than a cent. If I could just hoard 10,000 Bitcoins, I could easily crush my dad and live a life of leisure. But then I remembered my past life, how Brenda lorded it over my mom because my entrance exam scores were worse than Tiffany's. I knew I had to study hard. Right now, nothing would make my mom happier, or my dad and stepmom angrier, than me getting the top score and getting into a top-tier school like Stanford. This time, I had to change my strategy. I would slowly but surely piss off my dad and stepmom by improving every aspect of my mom's and my life. For those two, what could be more infuriating than seeing us thrive? So I had to study hard. In the dark, I turned on a light and opened my textbooks. I realized math and English were no problem for me now. After all, I had a solid foundation from my previous life's advanced studies. Chinese literature was manageable too. I had just forgotten some classic poems and a few question formats. With a bit of effort, I could bring my grades up. But physics, biology, and chemistry, staring at the textbooks was like looking at a foreign language. I couldn't understand a single thing. How was I going to get the top score? I fell into deep thought. The next day, I woke up with dark circles under my eyes. My mom had already made breakfast. On the table was a glass of warm milk, a fried egg, and 2 pieces of toast. My mom herself was sitting at our computer looking at something. I snuck a peek. It was a web page about stocks. Ha! My mom, that hypocrite. It seemed my suggestion yesterday had piqued her interest after all. My spirits lifted immediately. I grabbed her arm. Mom, guess who I dreamed about last night? I lowered my voice mysteriously. I dreamed about Grandpa. He told me he's worried about us and said, I have to tell you to buy a stock called Neptune Biotech. He promised it would make us rich. In my memory, Neptune Biotech in 2009 was an absolute monster stock, with fluctuations reaching 588%. It was a stock you could buy with your eyes closed and still make a fortune. My mom immediately poked me on the forehead. I'll believe that when pigs fly. You can't even make up a believable lie. Your grandpa hated speculation his whole life. You think he'd visit you in a dream to give you a stock tip? Now hurry up and eat your breakfast and get to school. Dejected, I went to school thinking that getting my mom on board with my stock market plan was a lost cause for now. I'd better focus on helping myself and getting some Bitcoin. When I got to school that day, Tiffany was showing off a new phone, bragging that it was a new semester gift from Dad. Ha, this plotline was familiar too. Except Tiffany got her new phone earlier than last time. In the previous timeline, it wasn't until next semester when I asked my dad for tuition money and he refused. The very next day, Tiffany had shown up with a new phone, bragging, Dad bought this for me. It was to reward me for getting into the top 10 on my finals. It was really expensive, but Dad said I'm worth it. Back then, I couldn't stand it, so I snatched her phone and smashed it. That's what led to the big dramatic scene later. My mom was publicly accused by my dad and stepmom of having no class and not knowing how to raise a child. Although she got into a huge fight with my dad, the stress of it all made her sick and planted the seeds of her future illness. Thinking about it now, Tiffany always knew I had a short temper. For her to deliberately come and show off her phone in front of me, you'd have to be an idiot not to think she did it on purpose. Now, I figured my dad must have bought his precious stepdaughter a new phone to make up for the public humiliation I'd given my stepmom yesterday. Seeing Tiffany's smug face, I immediately snatched her phone. Just as I thought, a small smile tugged at the corner of Tiffany's mouth. Sure enough, she was waiting for me to grab her phone and smash it. Too bad for her. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. I held her phone up high and under her expectant gaze announced to the whole class, "Hey everyone, check this out. Come take a look. This is the new phone my dad, Mark, bought for his stepdaughter, Tiffany. But just yesterday, when my dad was divorcing my mom, he told me to my face that he had no money to support me, that I should just pretend I don't have a father. He has no money for his own daughter, but he has money to buy a phone for his stepdaughter? Why do you all think that is?" The entire class's attention was on me and Tiffany. Tiffany knew I wouldn't have anything good to say. Her face was as red as a boiled crab as she jumped up, trying to reach the phone in my hand. I was a good half a head taller than her. There was no way she could reach it. I toyed with her like she was a puppy, making her spin in circles as I revealed the answer. Of course, it's because her mother is a homewrecker who seduced my dad, that giant loser, into abandoning his wife and daughter. My classmates knew some of the story, and even those who weren't close to me felt sympathy for the poor girl abandoned by her own father. Plus, for the past 6 months, Tiffany had been acting like she was suddenly rich ever since her mom got with my dad, constantly showing off her new designer shoes, watches, and bags. A lot of people were already sick of her. So now, with me putting her in her place, with both logic and emotion on my side, everyone was on my side. The moment I finished speaking, the class erupted in laughter. A few of my closer friends were laughing especially loud. Tiffany barely managed to hold back tears. "Maya, your dad bought this for me willingly. You're just jealous of me." I snorted. "Jealous of what? That you have a mother who seduces other people's husbands? Or that you have a biological father who's in jail? Or maybe I'm jealous of your family's prestigious background. Like mother, like daughter. Maybe someday you can find a sucker like my dad and use someone else's daughter's tuition money to buy your own daughter a phone." The class laughed even louder. No matter how thick-skinned or cunning Tiffany was, she couldn't take it anymore and raised her hand to slap me. But as a 6th-degree black belt, was she really in any position to slap me? I grabbed her wrist tightly and warned her, "I'm advising you to quit while you're ahead. Your stepdad bought you a phone, he thinks it's worth it, he's willing to be the sucker, and nobody can say anything. But for you to be a bitch and flaunt it in front of me, the victim, is just asking for a beating. Consider this a lesson. Stay away from me from now on. Otherwise, every time you come near me, I'll have to remind you what a lowlife you and your mother really are." My speech was logical, powerful, and hit all the right notes. The onlooking students not only cheered for me, but some even started clapping. Tisk tisk, the power of public opinion, public shaming, and popular support. I really knew how to wield it. Tiffany finally couldn't take it anymore and ran away, bursting into tears. My classmates all gave me a thumbs up. Looking around the class, there was only one student who didn't give me a thumbs up. But I saw his profile. He was trying to hide a smile. Clearly, he was also enjoying the show. I dug into my distant memories and recognized the secretly smiling male student as Alex, the academic whiz from my past life. Didn't he get into Stanford or something? My eyes lit up and I walked over to the star student. "Alex, how about we make a deal?" I was planning to offer him 100 bitcoins in exchange for his help with my studies. But at this point, bitcoins sounded like a joke. I racked my brain trying to figure out how to phrase it so I wouldn't sound like a complete idiot. "You saw my family situation. My dad and my stepmom are just waiting to see me fail. As they say, you have to fight for your pride. I have to do well on my college entrance exams. For the sake of being classmates, can you help me study? I don't have any other requests, just let me borrow your notes. I won't let you help me for free, I'll pay you." Before I could even mention my grand prize of 100 bitcoins, Alex shot up from his seat as if he'd won the lottery, his face flushed with either excitement or nervousness. "I'll do it." I looked at Alex. Alex looked at me. His face was red, but his eyes were shining brightly like stars. "I'm willing to help you study. I don't need any payment." Is this kid an idiot? It seems he had no idea what he was turning down. I waved my hands frantically. No, no, you don't understand. What I'm offering you is a life-changing fortune. Even if you don't want it, I have to give it to you. I'm afraid you'll regret it later. Just then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw that Tiffany had actually come back. She was crying and shooting daggers at me with her eyes. Huh, what's with that look? Scared my grades will get better than hers? I was already smarter than her. In my last life, my dad spent a fortune on tutors for her, and she still only got into a regular state university. This time, I was confident that if I just worked hard, beating her would be a piece of cake. I shot her a defiant look. Face the storm, you sad sack. This time, Tiffany looked mournfully at Alex. That look. It clearly wasn't fear of me surpassing her in academics. She liked Alex. Well, that's just fantastic. I knew exactly what to do. Under Tiffany's murderous gaze, Alex and I exchanged phone numbers and social media handles. I gave him a playful wink and told him I'd message him tonight. His eyes curved into a smile, and he nodded, his face turning red again. After getting Alex's info, I flipped my hair in Tiffany's direction and swaggered back to my seat. Getting Alex to help me improve my grades was important, of course, but what was even more important was giving Tiffany a severe case of the green-eyed monster at the same time. Over the next few days, with Alex's help, I studied diligently. There's a reason he was the top student. His notes were incredibly well organized, with every concept broken down and explained clearly. His study methods and problem-solving strategies were simple and effective. Combined with my existing foundation, I was full of confidence for the college entrance exams. Of course, I didn't forget to secretly use the home computer to start mining Bitcoin. In just 1 week, I mined 100 coins. To repay Alex for his unreserved help, I decided to give him all 100 coins. When I handed him the USB drive with the private key and told him he absolutely had to hold on to it until 2021, I said, "You might not believe me now, but the blockchain technology that Bitcoin represents will bring huge changes to the world. Bitcoin will become a new international currency in the future. You have to believe me and keep these coins." I was expecting skepticism or disdain and had a whole speech prepared to convince him. To my surprise, Alex asked excitedly, "You know about Bitcoin too? You also believe blockchain will change the world?" My eyes lit up and I looked at him with newfound respect. In that moment, it was like we were long-lost siblings who had finally found each other in a vast sea of people. I don't know if it was because of Bitcoin, but from then on, Alex treated me like a kindred spirit and would often come over to chat about it after class. This infuriated Tiffany. One time, seeing us deep in conversation, she actually came over and asked what we were talking about. Alex and I exchanged a look, and then he told her, "We're talking about things you probably wouldn't understand." The smile on his face sent Tiffany into a rage. After Alex went back to his seat, Tiffany started taunting me, saying that no matter how much I cozied up to the top student, my grades would never improve. A slacker who ranks in the 30s or 40s shouldn't be wasting Alex's precious study time. In the time he wastes on you, he could solve 2 more problems. But then again, a loser like you wouldn't understand how valuable a top student's time is. Seeing Tiffany's eyes about to roll into the back of her head, I figured I had been patient enough. In front of the whole class, without saying a word, I slapped her hard across the face. Tiffany let out a yelp and ran to the homeroom teacher to complain. "Ha! I'm not afraid of you." When the teacher, Mrs. Davis, was dragged in by Tiffany, I was crying even louder than she was. Both Mrs. Davis and Tiffany were stunned. With snot and tears streaming down my face, I cried, "Mrs. Davis, Tiffany was mocking me. She said I was an idiot just like my unlucky mother, and that no matter how hard I study, I'll still be an idiot." Mrs. Davis immediately shot Tiffany a look, one that clearly asked if she had really said something so awful. I was sobbing so hard I could barely breathe, and I looked up at the teacher. "Mrs. Davis, I want to study hard. That's why I asked Alex for help. I want to improve. What does that have to do with Tiffany? Isn't it enough that she stole my dad? Now she won't even let me study and get better?" The teacher was speechless for a moment, and her expression toward Tiffany became complicated. Mrs. Davis obviously knew about Tiffany's mom stealing my dad. So, in the next second, it was time for my star performance. I sobbed and stuttered, Mrs. Davis, you're a mother too. You have children. I want to ask you, if I were your child and my stepmother's child pointed at my face and insulted you, wouldn't I be failing you if I didn't slap her? Wouldn't I be failing myself? The root of all this is that Tiffany and her mother are bullies. Her mother took my father, they took my home, they even gave my room to Tiffany. Logically, she's already gotten everything that was originally mine, but she still won't let it go. She's trying to step all over me. This is clearly not giving me a way to live. You tell me, what am I supposed to do? I cried so hard I was about to pass out, and I quickly earned the teacher's sympathy. In a flash, the teacher turned and started scolding Tiffany. Tiffany, you need to learn to be grateful. Being overly competitive just makes a person seem petty. This time, you were in the wrong. You and your mother bear the main responsibility for Maya's family situation. Look at her, she's so pitiful, even I feel sorry for her. Stop bullying her. Tiffany looked helplessly at the teacher, a million questions in her eyes. I was ecstatic inside and lowered my head to hide my smile. Just when I thought I had settled the matter, my dad and Brenda showed up at school that afternoon. Because it was a dispute between me and Tiffany, the homeroom teacher had no choice but to call me to the office as well. The moment I walked in, I heard Brenda and Tiffany wailing in front of the teacher. Tiffany's hair was a mess, and she looked like she'd just gone 10 rounds with a boxer. Brenda was holding her, crying dramatically, muttering things like, "My poor baby, I'm such a useless mother." My dad stood awkwardly to the side, wringing his hands. Clearly, even he thought his wife and stepdaughter were overacting. The teacher had a troubled look on her face, obviously finding the situation difficult and unsure of how to resolve it. No problem. Since I was here, I would solve it. Way! I burst through the door and collapsed on the floor, crying even louder than Brenda. Aunt Brenda, please don't cry anymore. If you cry, my dad will get angry again. My dad was stunned and took a step back, probably not expecting this move from me. I looked up at my dad and immediately scrambled over to hug his legs. Dad, please don't be mad. I'll never provoke Tiffany again. I know I was wrong. From now on, if she slaps my left cheek, I'll offer her my right. Please don't be mad at me. Please don't stop paying my tuition, okay? I'm begging you. My dad was about to say something, but I cut him off. Dad, don't transfer me to another class. Don't make me switch schools. I've just started to catch up with the class, and I want to get into a good university to make you proud. I'm begging you, Dad. I really, really, really won't ever mess with Tiffany again. From now on, whatever she says goes. I can wash her clothes, I can bring her tea, I'll do anything. The teacher was clearly moved by my spectacular performance. She shot a look of pure disgust at Brenda, who was still clutching Tiffany, and at my dad, whose face was a mixture of anger and embarrassment. Meanwhile, I was busy wiping my tears and snot all over my dad's expensive pants. My dad's face was full of disgust, but in front of the teacher, he couldn't push me away. The helpless, ridiculous look on his face was both hilarious and hateful. My only regret was that I couldn't take a picture of him right then. Maybe it was my Oscar-worthy performance, or maybe it was the teacher's good judgment. In any case, Mrs. Davis told my dad and Brenda that Tiffany had to be transferred to another class. This isn't the first time Tiffany has bullied Maya. I don't care how you educate your children at home, but in my class, I will not tolerate this kind of behavior. Both girls are seniors now. This is the most critical time in their lives. I don't want to see them fighting in my classroom again. Frankly, their fighting affects not only them, but also the other students. So, they must be separated. The teacher paused for effect. Brenda cleverly seized the moment. Mrs. Davis, our Tiffany is in the top 10 of the class. I'm worried she won't adapt to a new class. If her exam scores suffer, it will be a huge problem. My dad chimed in. Yes, Tiffany's grades are better than Maya's. Let's just transfer Maya. The teacher was probably infuriated by my dad's shameless suggestion. She gave him a sidelong glance and said, enunciating every word, "Who gets transferred isn't determined by who has better grades. In my opinion, since Tiffany started this, it is only right that Tiffany be the one to transfer. I will report this to the school administration, but, as far as I'm concerned, my decision is final." Listening to the teacher's passionate speech, my heart felt like 4th of July fireworks. Absolutely beautiful. After my dad and Brenda left the school, I solemnly thanked Mrs. Davis, but she took my hand and spoke to me for a long time. Maya, your family situation is complicated, but that shouldn't be a hindrance to your studies. It should be your motivation. I didn't tell your mother about today's incident because I heard she's not well and I didn't want to add to her burden. You have to understand that you can't choose your parents, but you can choose your own life. The college entrance exams aren't as hard as you think. As long as you work hard, you will definitely get into the school of your dreams. As long as I am your homeroom teacher, I will unconditionally protect and support you and do my best to clear any obstacles on your path to college. You are a good kid. I believe that one day you will overcome every challenge and become the adult you want to be. Don't be afraid, child. At school, you have me. The teacher's words moved me to tears again. This time, they were real tears. In my past life, Mrs. Davis had also been very good to me. I had her to thank for a lot of the effort that got me into college. This time, if I had the chance, I would definitely repay her kindness. After school, I saw my mom waiting for me right outside the gate. I thought my dad had tattled on me and walked over, feeling a little guilty. But to my surprise, my mom had a huge grin on her face. "Let's go, Mom's treating you to Pizza Hut." Phew, thank goodness, it was just Pizza Hut. We went inside, and my mom, with a grand wave of her hand, ordered a stuffed crust pizza, chicken wings, a sirloin steak, tiramisu, a matcha lava cake, fried shrimp, and escargot. I quickly grabbed her hand as she was ordering. Mom, that's enough, that's enough. Are we not planning to eat for the rest of the week?" My mom laughed heartily. "Can't your mom celebrate a little good news? Just eat as much as you want today. Mom's got it covered." I quickly asked her what the good news was. She just gave me a mysterious look and asked, "First, tell me, did your grandpa visit you in a dream again these past 2 days?" It turned out that while my mom had said no, her actions spoke louder than words. She had secretly bought Neptune Biotech. In her own words, "I figured I'd just try it with a small amount of money. What if your grandpa's dream was real? And you wouldn't believe it, that Neptune Biotech stock was amazing. After I bought it, it doubled in price. I can't believe your grandpa was actually right." Looking at my mom's radiant face, there was no trace of the depression from her past life. It turns out only getting rich can make you forget all your troubles. I found it a little funny, but I was mostly just happy. Of course, Grandpa was right. He told me yesterday that this stock would go up 5 times and that you shouldn't sell it yet. What? My mom was shocked. But I already sold it. Just as I thought she was about to blame me for not sharing Grandpa's intel sooner, she raised her glass. "Oh well, doubling my money is still pretty good. It's worth celebrating. Let's have a toast." So this was my mom's true nature. So carefree and content. But in my past life, I had rarely seen her so relaxed. It just shows how hard her life was back then. I raised my glass of juice and toasted with my mom. Sigh, Grandpa was right. He said you're impatient and would probably sell the stock too early, but it's okay. He told me about a few more stocks. This time, you have to listen to him and only sell when he tells you to. That night, as we walked home full and happy, my mom held my hand and said, "Maya, things are only going to get better for us." I wrapped my arms tightly around her neck. "Of course they will. Things will definitely get better and better. You will become the happiest mom in the world. And I will become the happiest mama's girl in the world." Not long after, my mom, following my grandpa's dream guidance, bought a few more stocks. The result, of course, was that she made a killing. My mom seemed more energetic every day. After school, I would often hear her humming a tune to herself. Doing my homework to the sound of my mom singing, I felt like my life had never been so happy and content. Ever since Tiffany was transferred to another class, my world has been much quieter. With Alex helping me fill in the gaps in my knowledge every day, my grades improved significantly after just over a month. I was already scoring above the cutoff for top-tier state universities. My homeroom teacher praised me in front of the class during the monthly test review and told everyone to learn from my example. Alex was also very happy. He actually told me he was confident he could help me get into Stanford. Ha ha ha. Hearing him say that, I started to feel a little confident too. Just when I thought life was good and everything was moving forward smoothly, Tiffany showed up in our classroom with her head held high. I thought she was here to pick a fight with me, but it turned out she was handing out invitations. There were 45 students in the class, and she handed out 44 invitations. She said it was Halloween on the weekend, which also happened to be her birthday, and she was inviting everyone to a party at the new villa her parents had just bought. The one person who didn't get an invitation was, of course, me. You all have to come. We study so hard every day, we should relax and de stress a little. Don't worry, it's all on me. You don't need to bring any gifts. I just thought since we have a tough 6 months ahead of us, I wanted to have a nice get together with everyone. The way Tiffany said all this with such a put on accent made it hard not to see it as showing off. I glanced at the invitation my desk mate received and almost died laughing. The address of Tiffany's new home was a villa complex that was scheduled for mandatory demolition by the government in early November 2009. I remembered that this villa complex had some shady connections. So when it was declared an illegal construction and demolished, it became a national news story. To be sure, I took my desk mate's invitation and looked at it again and again. It was definitely that villa complex. It seems my dad and Brenda couldn't stand living in our old neighborhood anymore. I wonder who tricked them into buying a house in that supposedly high-end villa complex. The universe really does have a way of balancing things out. Oh my mood just got a whole lot better. But I still wasn't going to let this over-the-top show-off get away with it. To have the nerve to come and flaunt in my face, she really never learns. Does she think I'm Hello Kitty? I started cracking my knuckles, getting ready to find the right moment to take this braggart down a peg. Since not many people seemed interested, Tiffany kept telling everyone she had ordered KFC, and there would be plenty for everyone. And while she was saying this, her eyes were fixed on Alex. A lot of the students seemed to pick up on Tiffany's intentions and started to playfully tease him, but Alex just kept his head down reading. Seeing that Alex wasn't looking up, Tiffany walked right up to his desk. Alex, you have to come on Saturday. I have some questions I need to ask you. Her voice was sickeningly sweet, and her body was practically twisted into a pretzel. She was a carbon copy of my stepmom. Now the entire class's attention was on Alex. He looked up slightly and said calmly, I'm busy that day. I made plans to help Maya with her review. And don't look for me in the future either. I don't have time. I have a lot of my own things to do. The entire class fell silent. 90 eyes turned to look at me. My face instantly turned red. With embarrassment. Tiffany's face also turned red, with anger. I have to say, Alex's speech instantly made me feel all shy and demure. I couldn't look at him, and I completely lost the desire to think about how to take down Tiffany. All I could think was, I need to ship myself with him. Tiffany probably never expected to be rejected so publicly by Alex, and with the excuse that he had plans with me. She covered her face and ran out of our classroom at lightning speed. The moment she left, our class erupted. Amidst the countless catcalls and teasing, I heard a few girls ask, Am I late to the party? Have they had kids yet? Damn it, they ship us with the same energy I do. They really are my classmates. Since Tiffany had already fled, I couldn't chase her down to deliver my verbal smackdown. After a few seconds of stunned silence, the teacher came in and started the lesson. That whole class period, I honestly didn't hear a single minute of it. When the teacher turned to wipe the blackboard, I snuck a peek back at Alex. He was looking at me too. It's over. I think my chances of getting into Stanford might be shot. After class, I bolted out of the classroom. Getting into a relationship was not part of my plan, but I was seriously flustered by what Alex had just said. Could it be that he actually has feelings for me? I splashed my face with cold water 3 times before I finally walked out of the girls' bathroom and ran right into Alex, who was just coming out of the boys' bathroom. The water droplets on his face told me he had also just splashed his face with cold water. Our eyes met, pink bubbles everywhere. I wanted to run again, but he grabbed my arm. Maya, let's go to Stanford together. Before the entrance exams, let's not make any promises to each other. Let's just work as hard as we can and fight for it. After the exams, we'll be real adults. Then we can talk about our future together, okay? I turned back and met his sincere and determined gaze. After nodding vigorously, I said, yes, in the future. We definitely have to be together and get into Bitcoin. Honestly, I never had a proper relationship in my last life. This time, at 18, even though my heart was fluttering, I still found it hard to say cheesy things. I just didn't have any experience. Saying we should get into Bitcoin together was the best I could do. Leo smiled and told me, it's a deal. When I got home, although I was a little disappointed that I didn't get to properly shut down Tiffany for her showing off, their house buying situation gave me a new idea. I dug into my old memories. In early 2010, the property values in our old neighborhood skyrocketed due to new city planning, doubling in just 1 year. So, I started trying to convince my mom to buy a small apartment in our old neighborhood. Her first reaction was to refuse. She said she didn't want me to live in that environment again, worried that gossip would affect my exams. And we'd have to see my dad and his new family all the time, which was disgusting. I painstakingly explained to my mom that the neighborhood was close to school and that my dad and his family had already bought a new house and moved out. If we were really thinking about my studies, we should move back there. I was really afraid my mom would refuse again. Then I'd have to bring out the grandpa's dream excuse. Luckily, this time my mom didn't outright refuse. She just said she didn't have enough savings to afford a place in that neighborhood yet. Maya, honey, I know this is hard on you. How about we rent a place in that neighborhood for now? That wasn't going to work. After some internal struggle, I brought out Grandpa again. This time, I successfully convinced my mom to put down a 50% down payment and take out a 30-year loan from the bank to buy a 2-bedroom apartment in our old neighborhood. A month later, when we were getting the keys to our new place, the news on TV announced that the villa complex where my dad and his family lived was being forcibly demolished by the government. The moment she heard the news, my mom was hanging new curtains in our new home. She pulled open the curtains with a whoosh, and the golden afternoon sun instantly flooded the living room. We looked at each other and smiled. Nothing needed to be said. At that moment, I thought, in 1 year, I'll try to get my mom's stock market earnings up to $1 million. With the money from selling this apartment, we could buy 2 or 3 places in the new district and watch their value grow even more. Making my mom a landlady, she would definitely love that. The next morning, I was woken up by a loud commotion. I came out of my bedroom to find my stepmom, Brenda, and my mom pulling each other's hair at our front door. Brenda was yanking my mom's hair, and my mom had a tight grip on Brenda's ponytail. Even though my mom didn't seem to be losing, a fire of rage still ignited within me. If you come looking for a beating, don't blame me for being impolite. I lunged forward, wrapped my arm tightly around Brenda's neck, forcing her to let go of my mom to save herself. Then, with a shoulder throw, I slammed her to the ground. That must have been a hard fall because Brenda lay on the ground for a full 2 minutes without moving. Just as I was starting to worry that I might have actually killed her, she let out a piercing wail. Elena, you homewrecker, you shameless woman. You're divorced and you're still seducing other people's husbands, making them spend money on you. I can't live like this. If you have the guts, then just kill me. If not, then give me back my husband's money. The mistress showing up to call the wife a homewrecker. This level of audacity was so absurd it almost made me laugh. My mom's face was pale with anger. Brenda, do you think everyone in the world is as shameless as you? If you leave now, I won't press charges. If you don't, I'm calling the police to report you for slander. Brenda spat at my mom. We're all cut from the same cloth. Don't act so high and mighty with me. If you didn't spend my husband's money, where did you get the money to buy a house? Elena, oh, Elena, and you call yourself some kind of high-class lady. You're no different from those women on the street when it comes to seducing men. Making someone else's husband buy you a house, you're heartless. You'll die a horrible death. I thought my mom would be furious and was about to give Brenda a few more slaps on her behalf. But to my surprise, my mom just chuckled. Brenda, you're so right. That was wonderfully put. Whoever seduces another person's husband to spend money on them is heartless and will die a horrible death. I never thought I'd live to hear such a human sentiment come out of your mouth. I'm so touched. But you see, I'm not like you. I'm just lucky. I don't need to use dirty tricks to seduce men to spend money on me. Before I married Mark, I was the apple of my father's eye. My dad was happy to spend money on me. When I was married to Mark, I had my own job. I spent my own money and I did it with my head held high. And now that I'm divorced from Mark, guess what? My own daughter has become an investing genius. Whatever stock she says is good, it just shoots up. You want to know where my money came from? I'm not afraid to tell you. Thanks to my daughter, I've made a fortune in the last 6 months. Not only did I buy a house, but I'm also buying a car tomorrow. Aren't you just green with envy? Brenda looked at her in disbelief. Pa, who are you trying to fool? Your daughter is an investing genius? If your daughter can become an investing genius, then I'll change my last name to yours. Brenda's shouting had already attracted a crowd of neighbors. At this point, the neighbors started stepping forward to testify that my reputation as an investing whiz was well-deserved. For example, Grandma Wang from next door said the stock I recommended to her had gone up. Aunt Jang from downstairs also said the stock she bought on my mom's recommendation had made her a lot of money. I used to think the saying a lucky person won't enter an unlucky house was just superstition. But now I'm a true believer. Just look at Elena. Ever since she divorced Mark, her life has just gotten better and better. And look at Mark, he sold a perfectly good house. And I heard the villa he bought was illegally built and got demolished. It seems like Mark's past success was all because of Elena's good fortune. Without her, he's nothing. Exactly, some people are just born unlucky. Whoever they marry gets dragged down with them. Amidst the neighbors' whispers, Brenda's face turned pale. I don't know when my dad arrived, but he suddenly grabbed Brenda from the ground. Get out of here now! Stop embarrassing yourself! In front of everyone, Brenda lost face, and tears welled up in her eyes. Unfortunately for her, her tears didn't work on my dad anymore. He gave her a disgusted look. Stop your damn crying. Aren't you bad enough luck as it is? Brenda's face went white, and she finally followed my dad away in shame. After that battle, I suddenly realized something. This time around, I didn't even need to waste my energy getting revenge on my dad and his new family. Just seeing us buy a used apartment was enough to make my stepmom explode. If we lived even better, would she just go hang herself? With this new understanding, my perspective suddenly cleared up. My mom and I just had to live exceptionally well, so I studied hard while also following my grandpa's dream advice. Finally, in the summer of 2010, I managed to piss off my dad so much that he had a stroke. We didn't even do anything that outrageous. It's just that I got into Stanford, my mom made her first million from stocks, and we sold our old apartment for double what we paid for it. And then, when they came begging me to reveal my magic stock picks, we refused. That's it. Here's how it happened. After hearing that my mom had really struck it rich with stocks, it wasn't long before Brenda and my dad showed up at our door again, this time with a fruit basket. They swore up and down that they had been blind before and underestimated our talents. Now that their villa had been demolished and their business was in trouble, they begged my mom and me to help them out. Elena, Maya, I was wrong to you both before, but now I'm really at my wit's end. Just take pity on me and let me invest with you. After all, I am Maya's biological father. My dad pleaded with my mom, his eyes looking as fake as cheap plastic. My stepmom groveled beside him. Yes, Sister Elena, it was my fault before. You're a bigger person. Please help us. We both have children. Just think of the children and have some pity. My mom laughed and threw the fruit basket they brought out the door. Oh, Mommy's still angry. I think unless you two kneel, she probably won't forgive you, I chimed in mischievously from the side. To my surprise, Mark actually took me seriously and pulled Brenda down to kneel in front of my mom. These two old fools really would do anything for money, even give up their dignity. Seeing my dad and Brenda actually kneel, a flash of disgust crossed my mom's face. I never expected Mark to say the next line, which made my mom and me burst out laughing. Honestly, these past few years, even though we've been divorced, I've really regretted it. The expression on my kneeling stepmom's face was priceless, but she forced herself to endure it for the sake of getting rich. Of course you do. After you divorced my mom, you've been cursed with bad luck. If you ask me, marriage is a serious thing. If you marry an unlucky woman, she'll ruin you, even if you have a mountain of gold. I stared hard at my stepmom, enjoying the look of extreme restraint on her face. Mark agreed profusely and then asked my mom, now that he had kneeled, if she could forgive him. Just as my mom was about to say something, I cut in. I smiled and asked my dad, "Mark, do you remember what you said to me that year I asked you for tuition money?" My dad was stunned. Clearly, he had completely forgotten what he had said. "Back then, you said your money doesn't grow on trees." Well, let me tell you something now. My money does grow on trees, but I just won't give you any. Now get out. The moment I finished speaking, I used a mop to sweep the two unlucky souls out of our house. After Mark left, my mom worried I might be upset, held my hand, and talked to me for a long time. The gist of it was that she was sorry she couldn't give me a loving father. I hugged my mom and told her sweetly, "Not having a loving father isn't my fault, and it's not your fault either, Mom. In life, you meet all kinds of people. You cherish the good ones and run away from the bad ones. I'm only 19. My life has so much ahead of it. I believe that as long as I'm with you, and as long as you're happy, I'll have the motivation to strive for even greater happiness. Please don't worry, Mom. Believe in me. Believe in us." My mom cried. She stroked my cheek and asked, "When did you grow up? How did you get so wise?" I smiled, because Grandpa visited me in a dream and told me to be more sensible and cause less trouble for his daughter. My mom was crying and laughing at the same time, telling me I was talking nonsense, but at the same time, she looked up at the sky, lost in thought. Looking at my sweet, innocent mom, I was so happy. In this life, I am my mother's guardian angel. Epilogue. To repay my supportive and protective homeroom teacher, I had my mom give her the names of the stocks. Soon, Mrs. Davis became a wealthy woman in her own right. The day I received my acceptance letter from Stanford, Alex officially confessed his feelings for me. His way of confessing was to give me 1,000 bitcoins, which he said he had mined by working day and night over the summer vacation. Holding the USB drive that contained a massive fortune, I decided, this life, it's him. After becoming a rich woman, my mom took early retirement. She signed up for the dance classes she'd always dreamed of taking in her past life and was finally going to perform on stage. As for my dad, Mark, after being humiliated at our house and with his reputation as a man cursed by bad luck after leaving his wife for a mistress spreading, his former business partners all avoided him, and his business plummeted. Under the weight of multiple blows, he suffered a stroke, just like in my previous life. Brenda complained bitterly and immediately tried to divorce him, but my dad refused. This time, my dad probably truly believed the widespread rumors that Brenda was the cause of his downfall. He hated her and vowed to drag her down with him. So, at the fruit stand Brenda later opened, my half-paralyzed dad was often seen causing trouble. The two of them were locked in a cycle of revenge, and neither had the time to bother me. For me, this was an unexpected blessing. As for Tiffany, because she was in a bad mood after switching classes, and her mother constantly compared her to me, she became depressed, failed to get into a 4-year university, and ended up at some unknown school. Later, my mom and I left our small city. Our own lives were too exciting for us to care about what happened to that family. After all, if you listen to too many sad stories, you're afraid the bad luck might rub off on you.